Welcome, everybody, to the final score. I'm your host, Nicholas Marcinov, and today we are going to be talking about the Colorado Avalanche making their way into the 2021 NHL playoffs. They are the second team to qualify for the playoffs, but they could have been the first team had it not been for a COVID outbreak that set them back by a couple of days, which allowed Vegas to be the first to clinch a spot in the playoffs. The Colorado Avalanche are playing in the very new West Division. They are one of three teams from the Central Division. The Minnesota Wild, and the St. Louis Blues are now part of that West Division, which was formerly known as the Pacific Division. And they have taken full advantage of their new opponents and basically having a winning record against almost every team inside of that division. Uh, to be fair, with Vegas and Colorado both making the playoffs so fast before any other team in any other division, spoiler alert, because I am making this a couple of days later, the Minnesota Wild have also clinched a playoff spot. It goes to show that the bottom half of the West Division was probably a lot weaker compared to a lot of the other divisions. That or the top teams in those divisions just haven't been able to show that they are better than the other ones. But let's go ahead and talk about Colorado and just see how they got here, who's carrying the team and stuff. So, as of today, April 25th, the Colorado Avalanche are 31, 10, and 4 with 66 points. This is fantastic. It's good enough for the second in the West Division. However, they are only 2 games behind the Vegas Golden Knights for lead in the division. Leading the charge is their superstar, Nathan McKinnon, with 18 goals, 41 assists, and 59 points, being productive as ever. Right behind him is Mikko Rantanen with 26 goals, 26 assists, and 52 points. You gotta love just how easy that one is to remember. And finally, their third highest points getter on the team is Gabriel Landeskog with 17 goals, 27 assists, and 44 points. Now, as I previously mentioned, it's not just about how great you are up front if you don't have somebody great in net for you. And the Colorado Avalanche definitely have one of the better goaltenders in the league in Philip Grubauer, who is 25, 8 and 1 with a 920 save percentage and a even 2 goals against average. Philip Grubauer has just been amazing for the Colorado Avalanche, playing most of their games starting in net for them. And this caused the Colorado Avalanche to really look for a new backup. And they made a trade with the San Jose Sharks to acquire Devin Dubnik. The stats that I have on Devin Dubnik are his stats for the entire season. I did not include his stats as part of the Colorado Avalanche just because I don't think that gives you a good picture about what he's done this season. So, with the Sharks and with the Avalanche, Devin Dubnik is 5, 10, and 2 with an 899 save percentage and a 3.5 goals against average. Not great. However, going into the playoffs, you're mostly going to be relying on Philip Grubauer to be your starting goaltender throughout. So, as long as Devin Dubnik is manageable, there is no problem there. Uh, so, what can we really expect from the Colorado Avalanche in these playoffs? There's there's really high expectations. We'll put it that way for the Colorado Avalanche. This year, last year, and the year before, they were expected to have really deep playoff runs. They were supposed to do damage. And last season, they actually lost in the second round to the Dallas Stars, which is a little funny because the Vegas Golden Knights, who clinched already, also lost to the Dallas Stars, but in the Western Conference Finals, something that they both have in common. Uh, the Colorado Avalanche, they are such a good team that they aren't really bothered about who they might see in the playoffs. In the first round, you're looking at maybe the Minnesota Wild and maybe the St. Louis Blues or the Arizona Coyotes. Either way, probably out of those three matchups, the one that'll give them the hardest time is the Minnesota Wild. Uh, But it's really round two is if both Vegas and Colorado can make it, that's a matchup that a lot of NHL fans are going to want to see. We've seen it all throughout this season where both Vegas and Colorado take each other very seriously and trading wins a lot. So, do they deserve, do they need to win the Stanley Cup? This is not a prediction about will they win or trying to convince you if they will win. This is merely asking, do they need to win the Stanley Cup? And yes, they do need to win the Stanley Cup. Nathan McKinnon is going crazy. Philip Grubauer is having one heck of a season, but it's also all those expectations that is continually being put onto the Colorado Avalanche. They need to win the Stanley Cup now in their prime and hope to repeat the following year. As it stands right now, they are not yet been crowned champions. And so you really just start to wonder, can these guys make it? We haven't seen them go that far. We haven't seen them make the Stanley Cup in a while. But anything can happen once we finally get going into the playoffs. So that's basically what you got to know. They are going to enter the playoffs hoping to go deep in there. We're not going to see if they will play a team outside of the West Division until the conference championship, and then it would be whoever is representing the Central Division. There's a lot of pressure being put on these guys, and we'll see if all that pressure causes them to have an avalanche. And that's the final score. Thank you, and good night.